One of the things we do at OSNS is we provide an anxiety series for parents whose children are struggling with anxiety. And what I want to do right here is just give you a little bit of introductory information on what anxiety in children is about. So quite often people will, when we talk about anxiety in children, people will say to me, okay, well, why do we have so many anxious children? Or why do we have so many anxious people? Why is anxiety so in the news? Why are there so many anti-anxiety medications? Well, I certainly don't know the area of adult anxiety very well, but in terms of pediatrics and children, I would say that we've always had kids who struggle with anxiety. It's just that we understand things much better than we used to. And I think our general approach to kids now is, rather than being blameful, oh, well, he's just a bad kid, or he's just a kid who doesn't listen, we're more likely to try to understand what's behind that. So with anxiety, we really have to think about it. We don't necessarily see it easily in children. What we do see are other behaviors, usually behaviors we don't like. So we see things like aggression or just defiance or rigidity. They don't want to do different things. Or we see just a lack of motivation. I don't want to go to basketball. Why don't you want to go to basketball? I hate basketball. Well, why do you hate basketball? Because I hate basketball. So we don't necessarily see it on the face of it as anxiety, but underneath all those behaviors we don't like actually are things like worry and fear and a lack of predictability that is making kids just anxious and uptight about their days. So we have this little guy here, and he's going to be somewhat anxious. And the first thing we have to remember is anxiety is different for different people. Right now, I don't feel anxious, but if I was talking instead to 3,000 people in an auditorium, my anxiety would be high. And I would be having a bit of a physical response to that anxiety. I might be sweaty, I might be, stuttering a lot more than I am. And we don't get to judge who is anxious for what reason and why. So a young child, one child might have no problem in a new situation at a birthday party or in a classroom or at soccer practice, but another child might have giant anxiety about that and fears about that. So everybody is an individual, and we have to be okay with that. And we also have to remember that anxiety leads to a physical response. There is part of our brain, I like to call it our lizard brain, that is old and primordial, and when we are in distress, when something is really bothering us, that part of our brain hijacks all the reasoning. That's why we hear fight or flight, that in a moment of anxiety or fear, we're overtaken and we can't reason. So if a child who's 4 has separation anxiety from separating from their mom, let's say, and their mom's about to leave, even though they've had the experience of mom coming back and having been left before and it ends up being okay, in that moment they're having an anxiety reaction, and it's physical. So we have to first of all, we have to respect that it is a real thing, and then we have to deal with it. So, we can talk about fight or flight, and that's just a way for us to remember that this response that children have when they are worried about something, when their world is not predictable and they're trying to figure it out, or when they're going to go to soccer with a kid who teased them last week, or when they're going to Walmart and they don't like the lighting in Walmart or the smells that they smelled last time in Walmart, that's going to cause anxiety for them. So we have this going on. And then if you think about it, anxiety affects us all in different ways. So where do you feel anxiety on your body? When I get anxious and upset, it's my stomach that goes. I am not hungry. My stomach is in shreds. And that's how I feel worry and fear in my stomach, on my body, because it is a physical response, as we just said. So with kids, when they're worried and anxious, it's really important to help them figure out, where on your body do you feel this? Some people get headaches, some people get very tight shoulders. We all have different physical reactions. So let's figure out where, and that's going to help us identify what's going on. So when you see these behaviors, rigidity or aggression or, meltdowns, let's try to figure out in a teachable moment what your child is actually feeling. Another really important thing to think about is many of our young children don't yet understand time well. And you'll see two types of kids. You'll see the type of kid who is trying to understand it all the time, like, what are we doing now, then, later? But time is a really difficult concept if you think about it. We use these words with kids like, we'll do that soon, or we'll do it later, or in 15 minutes. And really, it means very little to most kids. So it would be like if I took an adult, say you, and I said, I'm taking away your planner, and I'm taking away the calendar in your smartphone, and I'm putting you in a car, and we're going to go do a bunch of things, but you don't really know what they are, you don't know how long they'll take, and you don't know when you're going to get back to your comfort of playing with your Lego on your floor or watching your video. So they don't understand time, and yet we're using time words all the time. And then we wonder why they walk into a situation and they're anxious and uptight, and they clock the kid next to them when the kid brushes them the wrong way, or they just shut down and retreat and refuse to do anything. So they're having a fight or flight reaction to anxiety or fear coming from the fact that they have no idea, that is a terrible clock, but that they have no idea about time. And if you look at the time segment that we taped, you'll see that there are ways to really calm kids down and explain time to them in a way that will help ground them and make them feel more comfortable. So in terms of anxiety in general, I think the takeaway message is that anxiety is different in different kids, and we have to respect that kids get worried. And the best thing we can do is name that worry and help them out. And the best thing that we can all do as a compassionate community is be respectful that different things are going to affect kids different ways. When you see a child having a meltdown at soccer practice, or at the store, grocery store, in the lineup, or in the bank, it may not be. It probably isn't. It probably isn't just defiant behavior. It's defiant behavior that is rooted in something that's much more addressable and much more developmental.
So one of the strategies that we can use to explain to children how to deal with worry or anxiety is a strategy called how is your engine running? And we use the metaphor of comparing body awareness and what happens in their bodies when they feel anxious or worried to an engine of a car, which is easy for them to understand, because if you press too much on the petrol, your engine runs really fast and you can feel out of control, and you can feel frustrated and you can feel worried, and it feels confusing a little bit. And when our engines are running too fast, that's when we can feel in our body that our muscles get really tense, and we're breathing too fast, and we can feel like our head wants to explode. And then we look at strategies and tools of how we can get our engine to slow down a little bit, so it can go to the just right speed, so that we feel content, we feel happy, we feel in control. And that's when our muscles are more relaxed, we're ready to learn, we're ready to play, and we feel in the just right space. And sometimes we can also then compare it to your engine running just too slow, and it's hard to get going, and everything takes a little bit longer, and you feel a little bit sluggish, or you feel tired, or you feel bored. And then we can look at strategies again to make our engine speed up a little bit. Once again, this is where we want our speed to be at just right, and when it's just right, we don't feel worried and we don't feel anxious, because we feel in control of what our bodies are doing and how our bodies are feeling. So this is a great strategy and a tool. You can use it anywhere. You can use it at home, you can use it on the way to school, you can compare it to your own engine level. So when mommy feels rushed and when I feel angry or when I feel worried, my engine is running too fast as well. And these are things that I can do to slow down my engine, and so that my body feels just right and I'm ready to learn and to play and to be in a happy space.
One of the key pieces of anxiety in children is this whole idea that time is very hard for them to manage. So if we're going to talk about young children, but if we skip forward to say a boy who's in middle school and doesn't have great time management skills, and he's going through his day and he goes to history class and they're working on a Renaissance project, and they have 20 minutes to come up with a timeline for the Renaissance project. But 20 minutes goes by and he doesn't really get it done. And then he goes to math, and they have a math lecture, and then he has half an hour to get the math homework done, but he gets one question done. Kids who we know these kids, they just struggle with how to use time, and time slips by and they don't really understand why they didn't get their task done. But what happens is by the time they get home, they have literally 2 hours of homework to do, plus they have to go to hockey practice, plus they have some family commitments. And what ends up happening is those kids feel a great deal of anxiety and stress, and they may be kids who really don't want to go to school and don't feel motivated about grades, and then we all wonder why. So what I'd like to do is take us all the way back to young children and the idea of time, that we use time words so much with young children, and yet we forget what a complicated concept it is. We say, we'll do that soon, or we can do that later, or we'll pick up your brother in 15 minutes, or you can have the iPad in half an hour. But really, a lot of these kids have no idea what that means, and it makes it very difficult for them. So there's this woman, Sarah Ward, who teaches about time and teaching time to kids to decrease their anxiety. And she has, I think, a quite brilliant approach in that she talks about the sweep of time. Since the advent of digital clocks, everything for us is numbers, and we're often looking at clocks that are just numbers. And we set timers, that beep and that count down without us being able to see them. But what she does is she talks about the importance of an analog clock and of children learning time by looking at the sweep of time. And the sweep of time is sort of being able to monitor how time goes by and how we experience time. And I've been using this in my own practice, clinical practice, for years, and I think whether it's young children or whether it's children in middle school, students in middle school, it is the single most powerful strategy that I've encountered in helping kids get organized and decrease their anxiety. We know that when kids go to university, the things that are great predictors of university success are not actually IQ or how well you read. They're actually how well you can manage your time and how well you can get the sleep you need. Those are the things that predict success and outcomes. So let's start when kids are young. And this is talking a little bit about how to do that. So let's say that we have a young man who's 4 years old, and his name is Wayne. And Wayne just has a lot of trouble waiting, and he doesn't understand time, and he acts out a lot. And so what we're going to try to do is try to explain time to Wayne. And Wayne does not know his numbers yet, so the numbers on here are irrelevant. But Wayne can certainly understand that there is a long black stick here. that goes around, and we can call it an arm or whatever. There's a long black arm and it goes around, and it helps us see how our day is going. So right now it is 11:15-ish, and we're at the Starfish, and Wayne we have to go and pick up Wayne's brother at school. He doesn't like going to pick up his brother. He does not want to get in the car. But we're going to give him some warning and say, well, Wayne, you know what? When this stick gets to the Batman, I have a dry erase marker, and you can't see, but that sticker is a Batman. So every 5 minutes, there is a different sticker. Stickers that Wayne likes, because they're characters he likes. Batman, there's Thomas Tank Engine, there's a Minion and Hulk. So when this long hand gets to Batman, so we have this much time to go, when it gets to Batman, we're going to go and pick up your brother, Eric. So we're just going to draw Eric in there, and that's Eric, and we're going to go pick up Eric. But you know what? It doesn't actually take that long. What we're going to do is, by the time that the long hand gets to Flash over here, we're going to be home, and guess what? Then you can be on your iPad. So I'm going to draw your iPad in there. Now, Wayne doesn't really understand 10 minutes and 15 minutes, but Wayne has seen this clock enough to see that the hands move around. And even if he doesn't understand the concept of time, he's going to start to get it here. So he knows that he has this much time at home to hang out, and then when the arm gets to here, we're going to go pick up Eric. And then he also knows that here, and I'm not very good at drawing, so there's our car. So we're going to be in the car during this whole time. And then when he gets back here, when we get back home, this long arm is going to be at light. I think that's lightning. I'm not sure. When we get there, past Thomas Tank Engine, it's going to be time to be on the iPad. And that's the beginning of Wayne starting to understand time and starting to feel like his day is predictable. So had he not had this, all he gets is get in the car, we're going to get Eric, we'll be back in 15 minutes, and none of that really makes sense. So you start doing this with kids, and it's just an extremely powerful way to help them organize. And if you keep these clocks at eye level for kids, it is also very, very helpful because they'll be watching it even when you don't think so. And so now when Wayne is in middle school and he comes home and he has 2 hours of homework, first of all, we're going to figure out with this clock how to get his tasks done in that 2 hours. But we're also going to start figuring out, okay, well, half an hour is, say, from here all the way to here, and that's how much time you had for math. Let's figure out what happened in that time. Let's look at the sweep of time. Let's figure out what took time away from you, and let's figure out how we can make you more efficient. So right from when children are 2-3 years old to the time that they are adults, looking at sweep of time is a really powerful way to ground them and ultimately decrease the anxiety they feel.
So many of the children that come here to our center also have anxiety, and when a child has anxiety, they can become very overwhelmed very quickly. Things like sounds and lights, even being around other children, can make them feel very overwhelmed, and of course then that increases their anxiety level. Here at the center, we try to make every space that we have very purposeful, and so for those children that have anxiety and those children that become very overwhelmed, we decided to make Otis's Cave. So the idea behind Otis's Cave is to have a place that is very calming, where children can just come and take a minute, just like adults who sometimes during their day just need a minute to regroup. Children need that too. So this is a place where everything in here is designed to be very calming for children. So one of the things the children see as soon as they come into Otis's cave is our beautiful bubble tube. This is very calming for children. They can sit and watch the bubbles go up. It's very mesmerizing. It changes color, and they can just sit and forget about everything else that's been going on and calm down while they're looking at the bubble tube. So one of the features that we have in our Otis's cave is these yogi pillows. We have several of them, different shapes, different colors, and the idea of them is that a child can just plop themselves in. They're very supportive in any position that you're in. So a child could be on their tummy, they could be sitting up, they could be lying on their back. It gives them lots of nice deep pressure around their body, which is very calming. And then, for example, they can sit and watch the rhythm of the bubble tube. So as we go deeper into Otis's cave, we have some other features, and another very popular feature with children is our fiber optic spray. So again, we have a yogi pillow below, and children love to sit on the yogi pillow. They can put the fiber optic spray all around them. They can hold on to it. Again, they can squeeze it. Doesn't get damaged at all. The squeezing is another calming technique. And again, just sitting here is very relaxing. They can watch the colors change, and children just love to be nestled up in this corner with our fiber optic spray. So then we can go further into Otis's cave, and Otis's cave is still a work in progress. It's not finished yet, but we do have this little area that we can crawl into. Again, it has another yogi pillow, and this is a very nice quiet little nook where children can come and read books or do another quiet activity, maybe with their therapist or with a teacher. So other things we are looking forward to adding to Otis's cave are things like a little observation window that we might put up in this area here. Then also we're looking at a fiber optic curtain. So we have our spray, we're also going to have a curtain that will hang down that children can walk through. We're also looking at having a bubble panel in the wall as well that children can look at. And we are hoping to get a projector that will display gentle colors and different shapes on the wall. All these things just adding to the very calming atmosphere in here.
Oh, you forgot. That's okay. That's okay. Sometimes we forget, but if someone's breaking your castle and you don't want them to, you put your hand out and you say, stop! What we teach at Kinderplace is something called safe spaces, and what it does is sets up a code of conduct for the classroom so the children know what to do if someone's displaying some bullying behaviors to them. They know what to do if they're seeing that happen, like a bystander, and if they're actually the one who is the bully, they know some ways to maybe get their needs met that isn't in a bullying fashion. Oh, what if they don't listen and they still break your castle? Then what should you do?
Tell the teacher.
Get an adult. Yeah, tell a teacher or a mommy or a daddy or a babysitter. Yeah, get some help. Get some help, Winston. I'm glad you told us. We use consistent language, all of the teachers. We talk about things that are safe and not safe, friendly and not friendly. We talk about some universal feelings like happy, sad, angry, and afraid. And then we work on just beginning problem solving. So what's happening here, you know, and negotiating with little preschoolers how they can get turns if they need them, or just solve the problems that they have in their everyday play. So you could use a big voice and say, stop. Let's try that, everybody. Put your hand up and say, stop. Right, stop. And then the friend who's doing it needs to listen, use their listening ears and stop. Language development happens when you're interacting with friends. Higher level thinking happens when you're playing dramatic play with friends, that creative mode. Those scientists that are going to grow up have to start out with some creative play and just creative thinking outside the box. So those are the things that we want children to be doing for sure. And George really wanted that watering can. So he grabbed it and he was pulling on it.
They should say, can I have it? And he said, no, this way.
George, did you hear? The children said, you could ask, can I have a turn? Oh, okay.
When she's done.
Yeah, she could say, you can have it when I'm done. Yeah, that's a great idea. Did you hear that, Marta? That's a more friendly way to say no. I'm using it now. You could say, when I'm done, George, you can have a turn. Let's try that. We have to start really young. If we teach them when they're preschoolers, then they're going to know what to do as they get older. If they're raised in a culture of bullying prevention, like anti-bully, they learn as they grow. They get stronger as they grow. They have a good foundation to start, and they just get stronger. Their self-esteem, their ability to say a strong no if they need to tell someone to stop if they need to, or go get help. They know what to do if they need to. That has to start, that message starts really young, like this age, and then it will help children as they get older. It's building blocks for every other area of development. If somebody does something you don't like, what should you do?
Stop.
Say stop. That's right. Good job, everybody.